You're listening to Cultura Distinta. Yeah.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the first ever episode podcast of Cultura Distinta. The idea is to bring as many different and random subjects and as many different nationalities and different countries together in one audio for you guys. Now, my name's Tony Bomboni. I'm going to be your guide and host throughout this trip that we call an audio. Okay, now, and for the ones of you that know me, know that I'm a little bit anxious, so I guess it would be nice to get maybe for a first episode something calm, like a little bit of meditation. So we're gonna have our first invite is gonna be a dear friend of mine and meditation instructor, actually. Help me welcome her with a great round of applause, Coco. How you doing, darling?
I'm doing really good. How are you doing? I miss you, by the way.
Oh, I miss you too. And it's so funny considering we're so close. You're in California, right?
Yeah, I'm in California. Where are you at?
I'm in TJ, girl.
Oh, dang, boy, I gotta go visit you.
Sure, that would be really cool. But now, considering the whole COVID situation at the moment, maybe we'll have to just wait for a little while, right? There's no problem. Now, I'm gonna ask you some random questions.
Random questions.
And then you can tell us a little bit more about being a meditation instructor. So, anything else you need? You ready to start?
I'm good. You do your thing. I got my glass of wine right here, and I'm just here to talk with you.
Okay, Coco, for your first random question, do you have a celebrity crush?
Oh, a celebrity crush. Good question. What's Sofia Vergara's husband? What's his name? He was in Like Mike, or was he in Magic Mike? I'm sorry. Let me see if I can Google his name. Him, Paul Walker, R.I.P., and
It's Joe Manganiello or something like that?
yes, Joe Manganiello or something like that. He's the finest guy to me.
He doesn't look that bad. Maybe someday, Coco.
Yeah, he's a gorgeous specimen.
Okay. Do you have any story for any really bad date?
Oh, yeah, I do actually. So back in college, I was home visiting from school, and this guy asked me out. I went to high school with him. I grew up with him. And he was like, oh, you're back from school? Like, do you want to go to the movies? Like, you want to go out? And I was like, sure. And so the first red flag was that he texted me maybe like 5 minutes before he's supposed to pick me up, and he just said, hey, so I don't have any money for gas and I'm out of gas, so do you mind driving? Can you come pick me up? And I was like, okay, whatever, it's not that big of a deal, I'll go pick you up. My dad overheard the conversation, and he was like, oh, do not go out with this guy. And I was like, oh, no, it's whatever. It's kind of like a bummer, but whatever. It's not that big of a deal. So I go and I pick him up, and we drive to the theater, and we get to the theater, and he was like, oh, man. I was like, you forgot your wallet, didn't you? He was like, yeah, I forgot my wallet. Do you mind paying for my ticket? And I was like, So it was the next town over. So we drove to a different town. So at that point, I was like, whatever, like, sure, but you owe me. And so I paid for both of our tickets, and we get into the movie, and the entire time we're in the movie, he's just texting on his phone and like laughing at social media and like not even paying attention to the movie. Every once in a while he'd look up and just start, like, he would be like, oh, that chick's hot, and then look back down at his phone and just start texting again. And I was just like, this is crazy. This is probably like the worst date I've ever been on, period, and like the worst one I'll ever go on. And it was. And he still owes me money till this day for that ticket.
I was about to ask you if you ever saw him again, if he paid you back.
Nope, absolutely did not pay me back. Nope.
Well, to be
Yeah.
honest, it kind of sounds like he didn't care, as if he was like trying to do as worst as possible as he could, right?
No, it's like everything that could go wrong went wrong at that point. Yeah, like all the red flags that you read about in articles, like what not to do, he did those things.
Yeah, it reminds me of that movie, How to Lose a Guy in 10 Days, but like he was trying that on you.
Yeah, and he was so intentional about it. Like he knew what he was doing, and he had girlfriends in high school. I really just did not. He just did not care.
Okay, next question. Would you change your name and what would you change it to?
I think I'd probably just change my name to my nickname, Coco, because it's super easy and short, and anybody around the world can pronounce it. So when I travel, I actually like my nickname is Coco. So like when I go traveling and I'm meeting a bunch of different people from different cultures, I just present myself as Coco. So that way they can pronounce it and it's easy, because when I say Courtney, some cultures can't pronounce the R or like the or. It's just kind of weird to them. Or they just mix it up with like Ashley or Brittany, other like American girl names. And they don't really remember the name. So yeah, I would just change it to Coco just to keep things simple. But that's about it.
Okay. Sounds good. I mean, if you were in Mexico, it would be something like La Courtney. Ve háblale a tu prima La Courtney. Dile que ya venga. Ya está lista su quesadilla. So it would be something like that. But I mean, don't worry. Normally that's when you're part of the family. They'll be like La Courtney. Ay, ya llegó.
I love
Ya
it.
sabes, no worry. Okay, and so for people that aren't so familiar, what's the best way you could explain what you do as meditation instructor?
The best way I describe what I do is that I definitely teach meditation, and more specifically, I teach breathwork meditation. And it's a more active form of meditation. So you're breathing intentionally and manipulating the breath and the energy flow in your body to actually heal your mind, body, and soul. It's a very transformative, and it's kind of hard to like really describe what can happen. I mean, I can definitely go through some stories, but it's essentially energy healing. And I know it sounds a little like woo woo to a lot of people. It's not until you actually do it for yourself that you actually believe it. And for me personally, I've just shed so many layers and baggage I didn't even know I was holding on to. And I randomly stumbled upon it too, by the way. So I came across breathwork, I think it was like 8 years ago now. And I had gone to the yoga studio just to do some yoga. And I'm not even a yogi. I just wanted to stretch. I was working out a lot at the time. I've always been really active, just more physical. And it was a Sunday night, and I was like, you know what? I want to do like a deep stretch. So me and my roommate go and we do some yoga, and then afterwards, the people there or like the instructor was like, oh, stick around if you want to do some meditation, just sign up at the front desk. And I was like, oh, I mean, why not? Like, you want to do it? To my roommate, and my roommate was like, sure. So I thought we were just going to be sitting there and just like have our hands like, in like those positions, like the meditation position, just sitting Indian style.
Yeah, just sitting down like.
Yeah, and it was the complete opposite. So the instructor like breezes through the door. She's like totally like a breath of fresh air. Like I loved her energy. And she's like, okay, everybody get in a circle and lay down. We're doing breath work. And I was like, what the heck? And she goes through the technique, the demo, and then she puts on her playlist. It's like amazing music that I would just listen to normally, like really fun folk music and R&B and everything. And so we're doing the breathing technique, and I just felt my heart open. It was crazy. I just like physically and energetically just felt my heart open and all this energy rushing to my arms and hands. And I couldn't even really get my hands off the floor because your hands and your arms are outstretched from your body. So I remember just feeling like invigorated and just so happy and joyful after that session. And I told my roommate, I was like, I got to come back. So I ended up actually coming back every Sunday night for 2 years. And every time I did it, it would be different from the last time. And it would be exactly what my soul needed at that time that I didn't even know it needed. So I'll go off like one quick example. Like one night I came in and I was like, I'm just so stressed from work. I just want to relieve some stress from my career and everything. Well, sure enough, midway through the practice, I was bawling my eyes out about like the previous guy I had been dating, my ex-boyfriend. And I was
Do you think, I'm sorry for interrupting,
go
but do
for
you
it.
think that maybe this also brings you back to a way that your personal relationships are going and how you're interacting with people and they're interacting with you?
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely full circle, but I think as Americans, we focus a lot more on work than we do relationships. So we tend to stuff our emotions down and we tend to be kind of cold-hearted. But when you're doing breath work, for me, that was the case where I needed to really heal my heart and I needed to really just own the feelings of sadness and grief and loss, because the way we ended things was just so abrupt. And we actually ended things on Valentine's Day, which kind of sucked, but because he didn't plan anything. And I was like, hi, why don't you plan anything? Like, why are you only texting me how I am on Valentine's Day? And he was just like, oh, it's just another day to me. And I'm like, who are you seeing? Are you seeing another girl? And he was like, yeah. And I'm like, who? And he was like, my ex-girlfriend. I'm like, I knew it. So he was like, yeah, I'm in love with her and blah, blah, blah. They ended up like getting back together and she moved in with him. And I didn't talk to him for like a year and a half. So pretty much how I handled that, like in the moment, I was really upset and I cried that night. And I think I cried the next day, but that was it. After that, I was just like really rational about it. I was just telling myself like, oh, we're just obviously not a good fit. I got to move on, whatever. And I just focused on work and like I dated other guys. But I didn't really like grieve him or something, you know what I mean? So, or just like the loss of our relationship. And so flash forward to this one night at Breathwork, I thought I was just stressed from work. I thought I wasn't even really thinking about this guy that much, but I would just start crying, like my eyes out. And I let myself do it. And I really owned that feeling and I kept breathing and then crying. And the words came up like, why did you leave me? Like I had felt abandoned by him. And I just got really real with myself. And I just cried, and then I let it go. Like I felt like I had truly forgiven him. Like after the class and driving home, I just felt much lighter. And I felt like love for him and love for the time we had with each other, just like a really good place, just like very thankful to have met him because he had taught me so many things. I really appreciate the lessons I learned from him. And I wouldn't be who I am today without him, honestly. Like there's a few awesome things I've learned. But so anyway, what's really cool though is that a week later, after not speaking to him for a year and a half, he hits me up out of the blue. And he's like, hi, huh?
What does he say?
He's like, yeah. So he hits me up and he's like, hey, I know we haven't talked in like a year and a half, 2 years, but I just want to let you know that I'm so sorry. And I was like, what? Like in my head, I'm like, wow, I can't believe this is happening. And it was really cool because I was at a place in my journey where I could have a really mature and nice conversation with him. So I pretty much just told him like, it's okay. Like, we're so young, we're still learning. And, thank you so much for like calling me out of the blue and apologizing. That takes a lot of guts. And I really appreciate it, but it's all good. Like I'm totally fine now, blah, blah, blah. And he's like, wow, that is not how I expected you to respond. And we started laughing because I used to be more of a know-it-all. And like the old Courtney would have been like, I told you so, like I knew it, blah, blah, blah. He pretty much just told me everything like I had wanted him to always say to me. Like he just told me like, you're such a good girl, like you didn't deserve that, like how we ended things. And like, I really missed out on you, all this stuff. You're the one that got away. And, everything that you wanted next to tell you pretty much is what happened. And he was just telling me like things aren't going too well with that girl. But yeah, so now we're actually friends and I taught him breath work, which is like really funny. So that's a little story of like how transformative this practice can be.
And how is you guys' relationship nowadays? Is it like you guys are
Yeah,
friends? You just
yeah,
get along and something that also
oh,
helped
what
you?
was the last part? Sorry.
Is it something that also helped you out? I guess like working together with the breath
Yeah, I mean,
meditation.
I don't feel like he really like loved the breath work, but he's a really physical guy. He's a personal trainer. But we have a good relationship to an extent. Like we definitely tried to date after that. Like we had an on and off thing, and then it just ended up being the same cycle, you know. And I was like, stop! Like we gotta stop. We need to stop now so that we can be friends, because we both loved each other just on a pure like friendship level, you know. Like we just love the like I love the person he is. He loves who I am, and so he actually has a new girlfriend and he's doing good, I think. And I would just kind of not walk him through, but just kind of help him out with future girls, because he could be kind of, there's just some things he needed to learn on how to treat women. And so I just kind of like talked to him about it. And we have that more like that dynamic now. Like it's not like I want to like jump on you type of thing anymore. It's just more of like, I like you and I respect you, and I also respect our boundaries as like people that used to date each other. So we shouldn't be too close, because he has a new relationship. So, and I don't want a relationship with him.
Sure. Let's respect that. We can respect that we're people that used to date, but now we're just friends. And that meditation, breathwork meditation, maybe brought you
Yeah.
guys closer in that way that you can have a more calm relationship, knowing each other, right?
Yeah, it was cool. It just kind of full circle, and it was really, really interesting. But yeah, it's not like we talk every day or anything like that. But it's definitely a person who I consider a genuine person, and someone I can always just like hit up and be like, "How are you?" Not that I do that, but it's a good thing now. Whereas before it wasn't. Before it was just like I really honestly thought we would never speak again in this lifetime. And the fact that we actually are totally okay is really awesome.
This is really interesting because at the end of the day, you learn to put that relationship aside and keep that person as a friend in your life, despite of whatever might have happened in the past. So this is really cool.
Hmm. Yeah, and you're really like clearing up your karma too. I don't know if a lot of people out there listening believe in karma, but I do think the more that you can heal your relationships in this lifetime, the happier you're going to be. Like it's just going to be a lot more smooth. Not that you should be a people pleaser or anything, but I'm really talking about really do the work with yourself, like your inner journey, and in healing these wounds and trauma of heartbreak. That's what we share in common, no matter if you're a guy or a girl, no matter where you live in the world. We all share that commonality of love and heartbreak. And that's something that it's hard to shake off, either one, you know. So I think when you can heal your heart, and in that aspect, it's one of the most beautiful things you can do with your life.
That's amazing. Okay. Now, what's your favorite song?
Favorite song? Ooh, good one. First one that comes to the top of my head is Aqueous Transmission by Incubus, because he's just talking about how, you know, he's in a boat by himself floating down a river, and he's just looking up at the sky, and his lover is somewhere else. Like he's just alone, and he's on his own little journey for now, and just going with the flow of life. And I love that. I just think it's a really good reminder, because I think like most people, I can be kind of stuck in my ways. So when I listen to that song, it like really puts me at ease, and to just trust where you're heading, trust in life, trust who comes in and out of your life. I've always loved that song since high school.
Okay. Sounds like a poppy song, really moved.
Yeah, it is.
Now, that was favorite song, but what's favorite karaoke song?
favorite karaoke song. I love that. That's a good one. Anything by the Spice Girls.
Really? Oh my
Yes,
god,
or
girl.
Al Green, Let's Stay Together.
Okay.
Let's stay together. Loving you weather. Okay, you know what I'm
Wait,
saying?
I know what you're saying. Now, do you do CrossFit, exercise, Nintendo?
Do I what are my hobbies?
Well, if you work out or
Oh, my workouts. Yeah, I love for working out. I love going outside and doing, if I really want to just do a quick workout, I'll do sprints. So any type of high intensity interval training, I'll just go to like the football field and do that. And I love just going on a walk, like a nice long walk and like walk my dog. I love Pilates because you feel like a goddess doing it. It's so good for a woman's body because the workouts are super manageable and you can definitely do them and you're like, "Oh yeah, I got this. I feel like a goddess." You just feel like you got in the bag, like it's not that hard. And then the next day you're going to be hurting in places that you didn't even think you would be.
that exists.
So, and you just kind of get the hourglass body. So I love Pilates for that. And I think there's something else. I love like basketball. I've always loved basketball.
Right.
And yeah, I would say those are my favorite forms. Definitely just getting outside and getting some fresh air. I think that's the best thing you can do.
You got a good height. I'm pretty sure like you're good at basketball. Pretty sure you wouldn't have problem with that also.
Yeah, I'm super tall. I'm 5'10". And so I've always played basketball since I was a little girl. But I'm actually like not aggressive. So I'm just more of like, let me get my cardio in and shoot the basket. Like, let me just shoot it. I'm not trying to like put you on the ground. I don't want you to put me on the ground or nudge me. Like, I'm kind of like a prissy basketball player at this point.
You're like, it's okay. I'll give you the ball. Just don't. It's okay. I can just imagine.
Exactly.
Okay. That's cool. So, if you could do your own holiday and you could decide what we'd be celebrating, what would we celebrate and when would we celebrate this? You decide.
What do we celebrate and when? Yeah. That's a good one. Shoot, I don't know. I guess off the top of my head, summer solstice, because summer is my favorite season.
Okay. The beginning of the summer, the stage where the
Yeah.
bikinis to come out. Okay. What else?
Yeah, beginning of the summer when it's just like less worries, go play some more and have some fun and go travel and relax and just spend time with your loved ones, like, and do adventures.
That sounds like a really good celebration, like the start of a really good holiday. And that actually brings me to my next question, which I wanted to ask you. Do you have any that you would call the best adventure you've ever had, or any experience that you're really thankful for? Something that could have gone completely different and then just happened good?
I would just say like my entire trip to Mexico a couple years ago was just like all of that you described, because I flew to Cancun and I went to Tulum, which a lot of Americans do. And I remember getting to Tulum and I was like, just kind of pissed. I was like, this is not Mexico. Like, I want to explore the real thing. And at that point, I had been laid off from my previous job. So I had a lot of time and I had some money stashed away. So I was like, you know what? I'm going to stay in Mexico and I'm going to really explore it. And I did exactly that. And I was there for 2 months and I went from one coast to the other. So I went from Quintana Roo area to Yucatan, Chiapas, and then Oaxaca. And sorry if I mispronounce anything, by the way. I'm definitely a white girl from California.
That's okay, you're not a local. I know you're not going to be able to say chilaquiles properly.
Chilaquiles.
Oh, see, there you go. I'm surprised. I tips my sombrero to you, milady. Okay, let's continue. I'm sorry. Yeah.
But I just remember being so blown away by Mexico, and I was like, what? This exists here? Like, I went to a town that was completely yellow. I went to a pink lake, and then I went to a freshwater lagoon that was like just straight up turquoise. I was like, what is going on down here? This is crazy. I never knew all this existed, and everybody has to know about it. So like I made a whole digital guide on it, and I recorded everything. Like I was just filming, and I just met so many amazing locals like you and so many fun travelers. There's just something in the water and the tequila in Mexico. It's just, I felt like Mexico to me is just like there's a vibe to every country, every culture, and Mexico to me is very much like passion. I think that's the best word to describe that country. And it's just a country that really owns their feelings, no matter what they're feeling. I just feel like they own it, and it's just full of color and life. And it's to this day my favorite country I've been to, and it's right there in my backyard from America. So a lot of Americans will go down there to go party, right? They'll go to Cancun or Cabo, Tijuana, because it's like right there at the border. But they don't really go explore the more
the
deep-rooted
real
places.
part of Mexico. And
Yeah,
you know what? I'm so happy that you were pointing this out, because I guess that my whole purpose in doing this project and starting the podcast is not only to have a place where to talk, share ideas, and have conversations, but also to give a little bit of, let's say, screen time, or let's say to show a little bit more the other parts that aren't being recognized so much, because there's a lot of parts of Mexico might have a lot of tourism, big tourism, like the Caribbean area, Cancun, or even just border cities like you were saying, Tijuana. But there are other places that are completely amazing, and some other people almost never get to, like states like Oaxaca, Chiapas, Guerrero. And sometimes people don't really recognize what's there, but we have some amazing natural areas. There's these huge colonial towns that need to be a little bit more recognized, because they're so nice, a lot more cheaper than going to the Caribbean, for example, and you have a great time. I personally had a great time always in Chiapas, for example, in Oaxaca, in the coast area of Oaxaca. There's these little towns that are really nice, really amazing. Cipolite, Mazunte, these type of towns. So tell me, did you ever go to any of these?
I loved Puerto Escondido, and then me and some travelers, we got some motorbikes, and we went down south more and just went to these more secluded beaches. And we actually ended up at this one beach. I can't remember the name because it really was just very small and nobody was there except for there's this one place we stopped at because it said it was a restaurant, but it ended up being kind of like a shack on the beach, and it was owned by this really, really nice, beautiful older couple. And we're like, yeah, can we get something to drink? And do you have any water? And the guy was like, oh, we have lots of coconuts. And I was like, oh, I'm all for that. I love a coconut. This man must have been
I love it. You're in Mexico and you're like, you got any fresh water? Tenemos cocos, si quiere.
Yeah. And you know what? I'm all for it. Yeah, and we don't have that in America, which sucks, man. But so he must have been 75. He just straight up just climbs this really tall palm tree near the beach and grabs his machete. He has his machete and climbing up the tree and just knocks down a whole bunch of them. And I filmed the whole thing, and we just couldn't believe it. And he had the biggest grin the entire time, just smiling ear to ear, and just so grateful to have us there. And also just so happy. I can tell he was just so happy with his life. And it was just the coolest thing to see, just something so simple. It's just simple living, just right near the beach like that, and not a lot of people around you. And it was just a really awesome moment. I just remember soaking in that moment and just being this is exactly what life's about. You don't need a lot of things to be happy. It's just about being present and being where you want to be. I could just tell he had a huge heart and he loved being there. Yeah. He was just super content.
And you know what? I'm pretty sure he was very content. But it's just really just different styles of living, to what you're maybe accustomed in the US here to Mexico. But maybe he was able to find his happiness, right? So this is amazing. Now, Coco, the whole reason why I'm starting this project, I guess, is because I want to share ideas, think outside the box, and talk with people that are going to be really passionate about certain subjects. So, for example, I wanted to see if you could tell us a little bit about why you're so passionate about meditation.
Yeah, absolutely. Because I'm really passionate about meditation because it shows you that the power is truly in your hands. All the wisdom you seek, all the answers that you're searching for actually exist within you. Because I personally feel and believe that your soul is infinite. You've been here before many times, and you know a lot more than you give yourself credit for. You just need to give yourself that space to listen to your soul. So with breath work, it's just one module. There's so many ways to get to soul talk, if you will. There's so many ways to get to a meditative state. And breath work is one of them. It's actually a very powerful, intense form of it. And it'll get you there pretty quickly, especially for people who are, new to meditation, or they're just a little bit more physical. Say you're an athlete, or you just, maybe you're more fidgety and you're just more like a physical type of person. A lot of us are like that. And that's why breath work works for a lot of people, because you're focusing on your breath. You have something to focus on, and you don't need to rely on any other external stimuli. I think music also helps, but say you're like somewhere in the middle of the middle of nowhere, like you're traveling, all you got is you. You just need to focus on your breath. And so typically throughout the session, it'll be about an hour. 45 minutes to an hour is usually how long I'll teach a class. And for about the first 5 minutes, I'll talk and then just bring up the technique. And then for about 30 minutes, you will do an active breath. I would say maybe like 25 minutes actually in the midway between. I have you take a break and just breathe normally. And then afterwards, for about 20 minutes, you just lay there in Shavasana, meaning like you just lay there and you just listen to yourself, listen to your soul. So when we get to a meditative state, that's when we can really listen to what we need to know at that time, because our souls are like onions. We have so many layers. And when you're doing meditation, you're really peeling back each layer at the perfect time. And it's at the time where your soul's ready to know that lesson or ready to embody that lesson. A lot of people will do ayahuasca or drugs and everything. And I'm not judging you. I've just never personally gone down that path. But I know that a lot of people who have done those types of drugs actually started doing breath work. And they're like, oh, I can just do this instead of take the drugs. And the thing about breath work versus any form of drug or ayahuasca is that I feel like ayahuasca, from the stories I've heard, I definitely think it works, but I think it's also like crack to your soul. It's almost like just too much for you to take on, and it's almost like a little difficult for you to get back into society. Whereas when you're meditating, it's a natural progression, and it's not all at once. It's exactly the trajectory of it, and the lessons that are revealed to you through this type of practice is at the perfect time. And so that's why it's more, in my opinion, more long-term and healthy for you, because you won't get freaked out, you won't be scared. It's just perfect timing. And very deeply healing and transformative.
Wow. And it sounds amazing. And I think it's really interesting because I think it's exactly the case, just like you're saying. I mean, everybody's got their own perspective, but some people try to achieve this throughout just high levels of drugs, and it's really not the case. I guess at one moment I would love to touch the psychedelic part, talk about it, explain it, because I'm also really interested in that and I see a lot of benefits. But there's also no need for abuse, and some people try to get this type of sensation by using drugs when it's really not the way, and you can just do it naturally through your body.
People are already meditating and they don't even realize it. When you make your coffee in the morning, when you're kind of just sitting there and looking out the window before you get your day started. These are all different forms of meditation. I tell guys this all the time who like work out all the time. I'm like, you lift weights at the gym, right? And they're like, yeah. I'm like, and you breathe in as you lift and out as you lower, right? And they're like, yeah. And I'm like, yeah, that's kind of like a form of breath work, and you get into your own zone and you feel good. And they're like, yeah, that's why I'm like, that's their favorite part actually, is that they get lost in it. And so that's just a meditative flow state. And so that's essentially what you're doing. The thing is, though, when you're doing breath work, and typically before COVID and everything, when we're allowed to like have classes and everything, and these wellness centers were open, I would have the class get into a circle and do the breath work, because when you start to do it, you truly understand energy a little bit better. And when you're in a circle, it's almost like a tuning fork. It's amplifying your energy times like 10,000, because we are so powerful. I don't think people understand just how powerful you individually are. So when you get you plus 10 other humans in a room in a circle doing the breath work, you can just imagine the power that's amplified. And I would talk to, when I was a student of the practice, the first couple of years, because I was doing it on my own for 7 years, and then I started to teach it. So I've just been teaching for the past year and a half. It hasn't been that long, but I was an active practitioner for many, many years, and me and the other students would just be like so shocked, like how smooth our week would go after breath work. It's like we only did it once a week on a Sunday night, and we would just come back the next week and be like, how was your week? Because mine went by really, really smooth and I was like stress free. So it removes a lot of that anxiety, and it makes you feel very rock solid in who you are. It gives you that inner peace that you're actually subconsciously looking for outside of yourself, like constantly, through other relationships, through material items. When you meditate, you are tuning into your soul, and you then understand that's exactly what you have been needing to do this entire time. And those are where the answers lie.
It's really interesting, because I guess I have, and I'm going to tell you personally, I guess part of also me inviting you exactly was I do want to look for that more calming sensation. And I have been seeing all around that people say when you take the time to just breathe, think, and just like think again about what you're doing, think about what you're saying, you go more in retrospective, I guess, if I said it correctly, and you start thinking more deeply.
Yeah, you're giving yourself that space. You're allowing yourself to just feel your body and feel your emotions and honor where you're at. It just gives you freedom. And I think it's really helpful in COVID times too, when you feel kind of trapped. We might be in smaller places, or we're just like over it. A lot of places are open. We're not hanging. We're more isolated, right? So I would definitely just suggest people take this time to do the inner journey, like do some inner exploring, because it's going to be a little tough for a lot of us to do some outer exploring. And I'm all for both. And that's what my brand Hidden Gems is all about. It's about going inside and going outside. So go within and, do that inner work and exploring and meditate and just explore who you are and your inner workings and like, what is your shadow side? Like, what is your shadow self? What have you not been seeing about yourself that you need to come to light? And what do you need to heal? And what do you need to honor about yourself? Sometimes we're actually just walking around and we're not even really loving ourselves fully. And that's what we need to do. Validate yourself. And that's what meditation will do. It'll just give you exactly, when you go in with like a blank slate. That's why a lot of people who are new to meditation actually have phenomenal stories, because they don't even really know what to expect. So when they get into it, they're like, oh my God, that was just like groundbreaking. And it's because they had no expectations. And so they allowed themselves to get to a deep place. And when you consistently do it, as you do it more and more, it gets easier and easier for you to get into that flow.
I'm guessing I would compare it to the kid going on the roller coaster, right? Just like, I guess the first time you go on it, you're like, wow, that's the best thing ever. I want to do it every time. And then after a while, I guess you just get used to just being on roller coasters, right?
Yeah, it's like that with everything in life too. Like surfing, it's so hard. And then when you get the hang of it, you're like, this is the funnest thing ever. It's like riding a bike too,
With most things, I guess when you get used to it, it becomes normal.
Yeah.
When was the first time you heard about meditating?
I mean, the first time I heard about it, that's a good question, because I never like consciously like seeked it. I just kind of stumbled upon it. But I actually was meditating in high school and I didn't even know it because I remember coming home after school and I found this like one VHS tape in my mom's garage. It's like yoga for abs. And I was like, oh, heck yeah, I want like some abs. So I would do this yoga tape every day after school. And after the class, it would just be like Shavasana. You're laying there and you're in meditation, a meditative state. And I love that feeling. I'd feel so peaceful, especially in high school with all those hormones and all that. So to come home and do that, that's actually when a lot of things shifted for me and I was a lot more happy and calm and just like enjoying my life a lot more. And I didn't even know I was meditating, but so I think that's the first time I heard of it or really was doing it, not even really knowing. And then it wasn't until in my 20s when I was living in LA that I started to do meditation. And it was that whole story I told you about me at just wanting to do yoga and then them just saying like, oh, want to do meditation? And I was like, yes, that sounds interesting. And that was the first breathwork class.
Sure. Let's try it. Let's see what happens. Who knows what this can lead to? It's either this or drugs, right? Who cares? It sounds amazing. And I don't know if it sounds right, but it's something that, if you can say, you just see the person carry within them. You just see these people that are at ease. I'm going to share with you that I've never personally done yoga. Looking into doing it in the next couple of weeks, months, if I can, when I get the chance. But I've always had a lot of friends that were yoginis and people that would practice often, and you just see them going often with this way of living, just super calm, natural.
Yeah, it's you get to this point where you're okay with the unpredictable. You don't have anxiety over the future as much, you're more like living in the now.
Sounds amazing. It's like just,
and you're healing your past. Yeah, when you meditate, you also heal your past, and that's a lot of the times that's what's holding us back, is just us in our heads about what happened the day before, how you could have done better. And it's like that's the primal part of your mind, is just wanting to fix problems. That's how our brains are conditioned. So when that happens, like, you shouldn't beat yourself up about it, because that's exactly what it's meant to do. But the thing is, it's on overdrive. And in the modern age, our minds are overstimulated by so much external stimuli from the media, just from advertisements, just from like society telling you who you should be, how you should act, and all of that. So when you're tuning out the noise and tuning in, you're getting very clear with yourself. And that's how I personally became so confident with myself, and I just started to move with more purpose and more clarity, and you have like more of that peaceful air about you, like you're saying about your friends that do yoga and everything. Because yoga, the whole thing with yoga is that it's actually meant for you, it's there to set you up for meditation. So all the twisty moves, all the working out the kinks in your body, it's all there to stretch out your body and then get you set up for meditation. It goes hand in hand.
Okay, I see what you mean. It's preparing you for, let's say, laying out the bricks for you. Like laying out the way, right? Sounds really cool. And with this, we get to the end of our first episode. Don't worry, we'll miss you too. Now, this first part of the first episode with Courtney Cox, with Coco. There will be a second part that will be a 20-minute guided breathwork meditation done by her, just so we can get a little bit of a bigger idea of everything we were talking throughout the episode. Now remember, if you guys have any questions for me or for Coco about meditation, be more than sure to leave them on the comments below, and I'll be more than glad to ask Coco, so that way we can answer any questions you guys have, right? And also remember to subscribe if you guys liked the episode. I hope you guys found it entertaining and interesting, just active. I will be bringing on different subjects. And so for next episode, we do have actually life coach Javier Valareso from Ecuador. Now, some episodes will be in English, y algunos en español, and some in Spanish. So for you guys that are bilingual, I hope you enjoy it. Now again, thank you so much for tuning in, and I hope you have a great day. Take care. Bye.